Hello, I am Professor Zahoor, ex-Dean Department of Fine Arts, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. In this module, I am going to demonstrate a landscape with charcoal. I have taken two charcoal sticks, a thin one and a medium thickness one. I have chosen a scene in front of me to draw a landscape in charcoal. I will try to tell you how to measure it and draw the main points. Choose a particular scene to be drawn. Take a textured paper as it is good for experimentation and some degree of abrasion helps the charcoal to stick on it. First thing is to divide the space. See the arrangement of the object on paper as per their proportion and perspectives. Try to stretch your arm straight and measure the height and width of the object to be drawn. Compare the proportions and then start to draw. As per the size of drawing sheet, one can double the measurement taken. But then all the measurements have to be doubled. Then only the painting will look proportionate. The distance from which the measurement are being taken should be the same for every object. Whether it is the wall or the gate or the tree. Start drawing the basic lines of a form, and that only will slowly lead to the main composition. Like John Berger says, drawing is a way of coming upon the connection between things, just like metaphor in poetry reconnects what has become separated. With a double measurement of the pillar of the gate, two sides of the pillars are outlined and then the line of the wall. To check the vanishing point, extend the line of the wall and the angular line of the pillar. Both will meet at a point. Now measure the distance between the two pillars and mark it double like all the other doubled proportions. This will indicate the proper gap and the composition will also look proportionate and as per the scene being drawn. One can easily make out what an artist is drawing even after a glance at the actual scene. With the measurements, the proportions come out perfect and thus a visual balance is created. The location of two pillars is clearly indicating towards the scene in front. By drawing the horizontal line of the ground, one can guess the placement of the hedge and flower beds. The perspective adds to the third dimension in the two-dimensional drawing. A distance and a depth is created. Time for the placement of tree in the composition. Trees not just admire branches, but some branches extend on each side. Some will recede beyond the trunk into a distance and yet other will be aiming straight at the artist. As the composition progresses, they will possess a shaded angle. a highlighted portion, and then a shadow beneath. Asymmetrical trees add to the break in monotony of evenly formed and placed object in a composition, and thus add to the interest. After drawing the wall, give a rough impression of the foliage behind it, and that will add to heaviness of a tree structure. Start making the dark parts of the composition with a broader charcoal stick. Like scribbling over the hedge and creating shadows over the wall. Draw the lines on the pillars to form another dimension and depth to the raised part of the pillar. Start adding a middle tone to the foliage of the tree. It is going to cover the major parts of the composition. One need not be too particular with the direction of the strokes because haphazard strokes add to the playfulness to the foliage, keeping in mind the source of light. Add darkness to the opposite side of the tree. The more one darkness, the more one darkens, the more shadow will be granted, and foliage will start giving a heavier look. A little shade behind the wall will push is in front and create another distance. Darken the tree trunks and the branches. This will make them stand out and be the center of attraction in the composition till now. which may gradually change its focus as the drawing progresses further. Charcoal is a soft medium. That's why one can smudge it with fingers or even a piece of cloth to create a hazy effect. The smudging helps not only in creating a mysterious or vague look, but plays the role of middle tone in a drawing. Apply a shade behind the gate and rough lines to imply the grills of the gate. It becomes easy after creating a base to take out the detail later on. The rough texture of the soft canvas adds to the beauty in charcoal work, as one can see more grains. The unbalanced, ambiguous, and asymmetrical look of the tree makes it easy for an artist to be more experimental, playful, and spontaneous. Without any fear of the line going here or there, just keeping the direction of light in mind. An artist can bring out the external shaping. Creating gaps in between the foliage through which one can see the sky adds distance to the painting. A stark silhouetted contrast and enigmatic foliage imparts a softer look to the leaves. Application of darkest tone behind the pillars and the wall bring them ahead towards the foreground. One can alter the structure of foliage to some extent to suit the composition. Reinforcing the deepest shadow and an overall tone to the foliage will add to the roundness that confirms to the visible source of light. Like Jeff Koons says, if I tried to articulate every single side detail in drawing, it would be like missing the forest for the trees. So it's just about getting the outline of the forest. The whole essence of good drawing should come out, even in simplest expression and imaginary lines of projection. One can bring the overworked drawing to almost nil by smudging the dark areas by piece of cloth, and in the process bring out a grey tone all across. The style of every artist might vary in the expression or depiction. Like Auguste Rodin said, the moods of expression of men of genius differ as much as their souls, and it is impossible to say that is some among them. Drawing and color are better or worse than in others. Being too much meticulous and deliberate with the medium can hinder the visual flow and break the spontaneity. Smudging has brought a mysterious and lazy look to the drawing. The contours are getting merged and lost in the surroundings, but each layer will determine and guide the next, and slowly again the scribbles will bring out the dark parts. And form a detailed illusion over the hedge, path, and the edges touching the wall. Tonal values and shapes of interlocking lights. The shadow creates a balance between inner vision, virtuosity, and expression that leads to the path of infinite possibilities. Serenino Serenini said, "This is an occupation known as painting, which calls for imagination and skill of hands. In order to discover things not seen, hiding themselves under the shadow of natural objects, and to fix them with the hand, presenting to the plain sight what does not actually exist." Again, rub off the charcoal strokes from the foreground with patience, so that the created effect form a base for another layers, which an artist will apply over it as per his mood and demand of the composition. Removing the details of the wall and pillars have created an effect of winter haziness. Now one can easily make out that the drawing just consists of light and middle tone. The darkest tone is yet missing. An artist can erase the details and take the composition in a totally unfamiliar world, a world away from reality, and can again apply certain strokes, textures, and depths and make them enter the world of reality again. Ernest Kirchner quoted, "It seems as though the goal of my work has always been to dissolve myself completely into the sensation of the surroundings in order to then integrate this into a coherent painterly form." Now is the time to create stacks, whiteness in the drawing to depict shape, light falling over the drawn surface. Make the pillars devoid of the grayness by using eraser. The whiteness will play its own music with the grays of the depicted scene. The white behind the wall and in between the foliage creates gaps which reflects the sky peeping in from the labels. An artist needs to keep in mind the study foundation upon which different codes of strokes and effects are going to be imposed. Clear vision, careful planning, and yet retaining the spontaneity. Inspiration to develop, and urge to transform, and a spirit to discover the endless possibility. All add to the uniqueness and beauty to the art. The act of applying charcoal and again rubbing it off tickles the spirit and is a feeling like reconstructing the whole concept newly with every layer. It totally depends on the viewer how he is catching the flavor of the artwork. Whether he is looking for details or enjoying the abstraction and plotting the space in between the haphazard strokes speaks for itself. Again, put a few patches of dark tone on the wall and be contented or again rub the area away and create a play of more shadows. Again define the shape and again merge the contours. Henry Matisse perfectly described the mindset of an artist when he said, I want to reach the state of condensation of sensations which constitutes a picture. Perhaps I might be satisfied momentarily with a work finished one sitting, but I would soon get bored looking at it. Therefore, I prefer to continue working on it so that later I may recognize it as a work of my mind. An artwork must not be an exact representation of an object, but should fertilize the imagination and make a known thing seem anew or unknown. Shading on the pillar and the dark lines imply the partitions of which one pillar is formed of. Even in the vagueness, one can make out the outline of a structure. There is no need to impose details of guess which area has been drawn and the drama of silhouettes. Object, space, and perspective is resulting in a beautiful pictorial association. Adding a few lines to the gate is indicating the grill, and the distance is created by the closer object being dark and distant object lighter in shade. Fernando Botero said, when you start a painting, it is somewhat outside you. At the conclusion, you seem to move inside the painting. It's very important to observe an artwork from a distance. One learns to read into the details lost in ambiguity. It stimulates the imagination and takes mind to travel in the realm of excitement, explorations, and experimentations. Applying dark patches over the foliage spread adds to the dense look of the trees. The textural effect tells the story of the whispering leaves and their intermingled coordination. Somewhere the strokes depict light falling on the surface, and at some places a total contrast with darkness creating its language of depth. Trees are the object which any artist loves to draw and paint as one can play to any extent with its wildness and disarray look. Reverend William Gilpin, an artist and cleric, stated, "It is no exaggerated praise to call a tree the grandest and most beautiful of all product of the earth." Rubbing with fingers, smudging with a piece of tree trunk and branches, all build numerous flavors, moods, and feelings in a drawing. The trunk is adding to the darkest dome, which was only visible at a few places in the haze till now. It has become the center of attraction and putting the vision first towards itself. Seeing Jacques Rousseau rightly defined the creativity by saying, the world of reality has its limits. The world of imagination is boundless.